Good morning, dear students. Nice to meet you once again today, and we shall start the new topic today, bioinorganic chemistry. The title itself is indicating biology is there and inorganic chemistry. So both the topics are mixed here. One is biology, the other one is inorganic chemistry. So we learn here a mixed one, right? It is related to the living system, right? In this chapter, bioinorganic chemistry, we study the importance of the various metal ions in a biological system, about their physiological properties and biochemical processes that are taking place in the tissues and cells of the various living systems. Now in this topic, when I was a student, my teachers have taught me our body has 66 elements. Now some textbooks they says our body has 40 elements. Some other says 30 elements. Anyhow, our body is full of elements. So we call all these elements as essential elements. Is it okay? So that means what are essential elements? We call those elements as essential because they are required by us. They are essential because they have got a specific role to play. They are essential because their role cannot be done by some other elements or some other metal ions. They are specific in nature. Their deficiency will lead to the abnormal functioning of the living system. The metabolic activities affects. Even if their concentration increases in the living system, it also leads to the malfunctioning of the living system. So, we call the elements as essential because they are very specific in their activities and they are indispensable. Their role cannot be substituted by other elements. So, we call all such elements as essential elements. I will write what are the essential elements. Carbon is essential element, hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, bromine, iodine. I will write certain metals that we are interested because we are inorganic chemists. Iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc, manganese, molybdenum, tungsten, vanadium, right? Sodium, potassium, phosphorus, etc. So all these elements are essential elements because they are very specific in their activity and it cannot be substituted by other elements. Its duty cannot be performed by the other elements. Then in these essential elements, the next we have got bulk elements. We take certain elements into our living system in bulk quantity. We require them more in quantity. As we are Indians, we take more carbohydrates. Carbohydrates have got carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. We take plenty, we require them, we take plenty in our body. So they are bulk elements. Sodium, potassium. Is that right? Other things. So whenever we take certain elements in more quantity, which is required for our body living system, we call such elements as bulk elements. Is it okay? Then the next classification of this essential elements is there are some trace elements. First we said bulk elements, now we are telling some trace elements. Now these bulk elements, before I take up these trace elements, these bulk elements, our body requires 1 into 10 raised to 4 gram mole for an adult weighing 75 kg. In other words, an adult weighing 75 kgs will require these bulk elements. How much quantity? 1 to 10 raised to 4. 1 to 10 raised to 4 gram mole. Now, what are these trace elements now? These trace elements, we take them in less quantity. 10 raised to minus 4 gram mole. We take them in what quantity? 10 raised to minus 4 gram mole. For example, iron, copper, zinc. These metals, we require them in less quantity. Therefore, we call such elements as trace elements. Sorry. So followed, what are trace elements? The elements which are required by our body or living system. How much quantity? 10 raised to minus 4 gram mole are called trace elements. Example, iron, copper, zinc, etc. Then we have got another type, ultra trace elements. So these elements are required by us in very, very small quantity. 10 raised to minus 6 gram mole for an adult weighing 75 kg. So the examples of these ultra trace elements: vanadium, chromium, manganese, copper it is, cobalt, molybdenum, etc. So these elements, we call them ultra trace, right? Even nickel. So when we require certain metal ions in very, very small quantity in our body, of how much amount? 10 raised to minus 6 gram mole for an adult weighing 75 kg, we call such elements ultra trace elements. Is it okay? So followed the classification. Now these elements, the essential elements, are all the elements that are divided. We call them first as essential elements. Then next, bulk essential elements. When they are required in 1 to 10 raised to 4 gram mole for an adult weighing 75 kg, we will call them as bulk elements. I have written certain examples. Trace elements, when their quantity that is required is 10 raised to minus 6 gram mole for an adult weighing 75 kg. Examples, iron, copper, zinc, we will call them trace elements. And ultra trace elements, these are required very in small quantities. I said 10 raised to minus 6 gram mole for an adult weighing 75 kg. So this how these elements are divided. Is it okay? Then having studied this introduction of these elements, their functioning is very important. So before we study the functioning of the various metal ions in our biological system, let us study first this metalloporphyrins. Metalloporphyrins, or some people says porphyrins, right? So I will pronounce this as metalloporphyrins. Is it okay? Now first let us study what are these porphyrins. Porphyrin is macrocyclic ligand, not macro. So it is macrocyclic ligand. It has got the pyrrole rings. You know the pyrrole structure is this. So it has got 4 pyrrole rings, and these pyrrole rings are joined by this CH single bond and double bond, right? The pyrrole structures, the 4 pyrrole rings are joined with this linkage, right? I will draw this porphyrin structure like this. And when I am drawing, you look at how I am drawing, it becomes very easy for you to draw this same structure in examination. So I am drawing a cross symbol like this, right? And at each these positions, I will draw the porphyrin rings. Yes. Then here I will write the nitrogens, and I will write here 2 hydrogens, and now I will write the double bonds. So look at this. So this structure, this molecule that I have drawn is a porphyrin or porphyrin. So here you are seeing this porphyrin molecule, either it may become +2 cation or +-2 anion. Follow what I am telling. If these two hydrogen atoms are lost, is it okay? If these two are lost, it becomes, if protons are, is it okay? Given, if proton 2H plus ions are given, they leave the electron there, it becomes -2 anion. -2 anion. Now if hydrogens are gained here, if 2 hydrogen ions are gained, because here there will be a pair of electron, right? A pair of electrons. So they will accept the hydrogen ion. If they accept the hydrogen ion like that, it forms a +2 cation. So in two ways. So either it can form -2 anion and it may also form +2 cation. Now, so I will write that structure as it is. Now this porphyrin, which I said macrocyclic ligand. Now I will see that these two hydrogen ions are removed. It becomes what? -2 anion, because they leave their electrons there, therefore they becomes minus charge. So it becomes -2 anion. Now the cations having +2 charges, nickel, copper, zinc, iron, so they will come and occupy this position and a bond is formed. Is it okay? So Fe+2 has come there and it has joined. Now similarly here I said there is a pair of electron. They donate a pair of electron and forms a coordinate bond. Is it okay? Similarly nickel, you can join here. Copper can be written here. Zinc can be written here. Magnesium can be written there, etc. So when we write iron, for example here, so Fe is in the +2 oxidation state. So we call such compounds as metalloporphyrins. Is it okay? So first I have explained what are porphyrins. This I said they are macrocyclic ligands. Is it right? They form either +2 cation or -2 anion. When they are forming this -2 anion, they combine with the metal ions which are dipositive and forms a coordination compound. In other words, it is also called chelate, right? Because it is held from different direction. So such coordination compounds, we call them metalloporphyrins. Metalloporphyrins. And the stability of these metalloporphyrins is like this. Na+2 is, its stability is more than copper, which is more than iron, which is more than, sorry, I will write here zinc, which is more than iron, which is more than magnesium. Is it okay? That means their stability I have written here. When you place various cations here, their stabilities are differing. So the most stable one is what? Ni+2 complex. Ni+2 porphyrins are more stable than the last one, that is Mg+2 or Zn+2. Is it okay? So this is how you explain in the examination. If it is asked what are metalloporphyrins, you begin with this. They are macrocyclic ligands. Is it okay? So having studied this metalloporphyrins, now I have joined here iron, and in this metalloperforin, I will write some substitutes. Here I will write CH2COOH. Here also CH2COOH. And at these positions, methyl groups are there. And here it is methyl groups. And here one methyl group. And here there is a methyl group. And here there is CH2. And here the same group CH. And this is nothing but hemoglobin. So the structure of hemoglobin I have written. So in this metalloperforin, iron is there at the center in Fe+2 state. Is it right? And it has got the various substitutes like this, right? And here earlier I have said these two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. These perforin rings are joined by what? CH double bond, right? Single bond CH, double bond linkage. I said earlier, the perforin rings are joined by this linkage. Single bond CH, is it okay? Double bond, right? So this is what? The hemoglobin. And you know very well what is the role of hemoglobin? Immediately we say that it carries the oxygen from lungs to the various parts of the body. Is it okay? And what happens when it takes oxygen to the various parts of the body or tissues? There the myoglobin will be there in the tissues, in the muscles. That oxygen will be taken by the myoglobin, and that is used for the conversion of glucose, C6H12O6, which gets converted into carbon dioxide and water plus energy. Now this carbon dioxide, is it okay? To balance this you can write like that. That carbon dioxide is taken up by what? The hemoglobin at the muscles, and it brings that carbon dioxide to the lungs, and we exhale what? Carbon dioxide. See how wonderfully the hemoglobin is functioning. When it comes to the lungs, it picks up oxygen, right? It takes the oxygen, it forms oxyhemoglobin. It goes to the various parts of the body, supplies the oxygen there. It gives the oxygen to that myoglobin. Myoglobin takes up that oxygen, and it oxidizes this glucose into carbon dioxide and water. That carbon dioxide is picked up by the hemoglobin. It becomes carboxyhemoglobin, comes back to the lungs, and when it gives out the carbon dioxide, we are exhaling, we are breathing out the carbon dioxide. Is it okay? So this is how you have to explain when it is asked, write the structure and explain the functioning of the hemoglobin. Our blood is red because of what? The hemoglobin. They are present in RBCs, red blood corpuscles, red blood cells. When I say our blood is red because of the hemoglobin, and that is because of the presence of Fe+2 ion. Which means, if we withdraw that Fe+2 ion from the hemoglobin, the blood must lose its red color. Is it okay? So this is how explain the functioning of the hemoglobin in our body system, right? So remember these things. Tomorrow we shall continue with the other structure that is occurring in plants, and which is playing a vital role in plants, that is chlorophyll, right? We take this structure once again, then substitute central the Mg plus 2 ion, and there will be other substitutes. Okay, so this is what I want to say today. We shall continue with this tomorrow. Till then, have a nice day. Thank you very much.